Good morning. It's Saturday morning, shortly before 8 a.m. in Venice, California. You might be able to see Santa Monica Pier and Pacific Palisades in Malibu to the north. But what I really want to show you is the Venice Boardwalk. There's the felon Carl Lambert controlled Waldorf, now the Venice V Hotel, next to the Carl Lambert controlled felon Carl Lambert controlled Venice Breeze Suites. Behind it is the Carl Lambert controlled Morrison Hotel. Behind that is the Horizon Apartments deal. You see that little thing on top? That was my apartment there. That's the most serially violent single address in Venice. That's where Sidney Zamora video stalked and sexually assaulted tenants. I'm going to try not to get triggered and traumatized here. That's where Daryl and Christopher jumped. On the third floor, Daryl and Christopher. We tried to rectify the difficulties in an apartment. I ended up sitting with Daryl's body, and then Christopher died from the same apartment where Susan was stalked and sexually assaulted. Becky Dennison and Linda Lux and the Venice Neighborhood Council knew about all of this. There was a suicide cluster as this building opened up. Anyway, there's more to that. I don't want to get into more than I can handle. This is the infamous Horizon restroom, rape room. Carl Lambert's honorary custodian there on the Westminster Plaza sign, along with the Venice Neighborhood Council people honored there, and the Radio Free Venice censor from the Eric Albert Free Venice Beachhead, race-baiting, racist, white developer freebie. You can see the great history there in Santa Monica Pier when I was director of publicity for Rhino Records in the 80s. Had quite many years here. There's the Pacific Division substation. I've been a police supporter all my life during the hard times when there's a lot of police hate was manufactured in barrages by the same poverty pimp white private developers, pushing that ideological crap but living behind these outrageous scandals. This is Steve Clare, limited liability lawyer, Carl Lambert, private developer, all these multi-developed buildings, but the keynote violence here, the wreckage, the permanent supportive housing and wraparound services charade, the thousands of quote-unquote case managers. If we just go unit by unit, the history of this in St. Joseph Center, the lease partner service provider, Department of Mental Health, John Sharon, who just resigned, and Shane, the lease partner service provider, along with LASA, the lease service provider, and Luskin provider, and there's a whole lot of providers, and they're providing a whole lot of billing codes and service units to create a death harvest model that's behind all this ideological hooey. Drug House Becky Dennison, BLM LA, Snow White, Splain White Girl with the Camera, and Pete White, the whitest black man in America. Do you know? They love the blacks so much. There's no black businesses. There's no black scholarships for youth build. Steve Clare, decade after decade. I mean, they're entitled to do what they want. There's the Morrison Hotel, Carl Lambert controlled. Frank, the manager, says, get help, because gaslighting, calling a messenger crazy, or other kinds of victim blaming, shaming, and cessation from these bullies. And then there's Jack Hoffman on Market Street, the philosopher, real estate agent. The Venice Design Series thefts with Linda Lux. Guess what? The Carl Lambert-controlled Venice Neighborhood Council. The horrors, the continuing horrors. Now they want millions and millions to rebuild for the tourists the restroom instead of hiring one janitor and one security guard. As Carl Lambert hides behind with his little gun and his 30 or 40 bid stooges and all the otherwise unemployable trophy jobs walking around here because they Tracy Park diversity, the Abbot Kinney Boulevard, hippest block in the nation, coolest block in the nation, diversity is not bringing the wealth of black intellectuals and black professionals, as long as they're going to mention it, as long as they're going to put Arthur Reese, they're going to have Jules Muck, the tourist artist, or their own, make the picture of Arthur Reese, and then, he was contemporaneous with Abbot Kinney himself, who dreamed the Venice of America. Incredible things that happened in the 20s and the 30s here with music and art and culture and dance and the birth of the movie industry and all that. Well, they've sucked all the art and culture out of here, and they put the brand Carl Lambert and Eric Alberg and these censorship Nazis put Arthur Reese's face on there so all the tourists can see. But Sonia Greenland Reese, the granddaughter of Arthur Reese, contemporaneous with Abbot Kinney himself. Now listen, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, Coney Island, so that's in the early part of the other century. That's where Abbot Kinney got his idea and dream for Venice of America. That seaside place on the other coast. And so, great affection for this town. I've been here for 4 decades. Great love for the people. Great love from many gone. At my age, many are gone. The travesties, the horrors, and now the same people who had the, Linda Lux, Becky, Dennison campouts for the homeless. We had to help the homeless hundreds of millions into actual billions later. That even has Newsom saying, well, gosh, I guess it didn't work. But it did work because it expanded a heinous hierarchical subculture of rotating entry-level billing code stooges, unaccountable by tactic. And this protocol is going all through the nation. In our Mockingbird Sings video 5 years ago, we referenced the PBS special, Politics, Poverty, and Profits. And there was a Florida prosecutor fighting another seaside poverty pimp paradigm. Many of those same things have taken down many in the sewer they call a Los Angeles City Council, starring Traci Park Bonin, replacing useful idiot Meth Mike Bonin, who met with Roger Mahoney in 2005 as the previous Holy Father was sanctioning Roger Mahoney, forbidding him from public presence, which he's violated again and again and again and again and again and again. And they replaced him with Cardinal Gomez, Steve Lopez, very responsible, very well-known Los Angeles reporter with absolutely credible bona fides, did incredible work. Also, it's devoted Catholic from the south, from Los Angeles area or north of there. So, documenting all this, or even trying to answer the violence with art in a song in this supposedly artful place, Hi Beautiful, has met with, activist protocol resistance. It didn't matter. I've been a Democrat longer than any of them have been actually alive. you know, and they've disgraced so much of that. So there's Frank's Morrison Hotels, and the walking tours will go there and tell you about Jim Morrison, and, you know, very respectfully, we're getting about 700,000 views for an unsigned, ostracized, restricted, multiply restricted, banned, shadow banned, shame blamed, gaslighted, gang stalked, humble reporter. Buy me a cup of coffee. You know, the people coming in are getting $1,000 more than me on minimum Social Security, disability. Judge as you may, you are in a motion picture studio, rigging, production, and construction grip. And in the construction and rigging industry, there's more deaths and injuries than even our brave policemen and women who I supported, and who are now very much changed with the Chief Mike Moore coming out of retirement for more mega millions to join the Garcetti Gascon hard left activists coming right from Karen Bass's office. There's Pete White again, you know, these little greedmeisters, Becky and Pete with their little video camera, not really responsibly calling bad officers to task in a credible way, but just being sensationalist, race baiting, doing all that vicious white elite activist protocol, caring so much about people that, like Ed Buck, they worship the symbol, the prejudice, iconography that they create and desire, and then they overpower it, they shame it, they blame it, they make sure it cannot move, literally, even if it takes these recovery guru experts. Read that Queer Elite BuzzFeed 3-parter about the predation and the psychosexually Ed Buck, Meth Mike Bonin, Eric Garcetti gay mafia. Now you'll call me sensationalist, but you won't do the research. You'll call me crazy, but you won't do the research. So when Mockingbird Sings came out, we referenced that. We referenced the Metropolis movie that prescient, great, incredible German silent film director Fritz Lang created. I don't think a movie's beaten that, and I'm a grip. I've worked Die Hard 2, Speed, Alien 4, Edward Scissorhands. It was my great blessing to work Vincent Price's last movie, and Johnny Depp when he was still, you know, actually a working man, consciousness, and blah blah blah. You know, a lot of hard work. So now there's nothing left to do except to come out with another single. And it's called I Got the Rock, because I do. And because you need it. And because you are going to get it. So Frank says, Stan, get help. Well, we got some help, Frank, about all the residents you've endangered in that alley, in that suicide cluster, that open access. That's how the gentleman with, you know, the new drone video right there on the roof above my last apartment, where Bobby Maddox broke in and bludgeoned me, and I'm still suffering. There's surgical reports, physician reports, medical reports. I don't care. I go to there. How the grace and the positivity and the encouragement with which we treated Aquila Flemings, only to be, by Bridget Bell, directed to make such heinous abuses, I don't want to discuss them right here, to get me out of town while they pushed another project. Even otherwise recalcitrant Adult Protective Services actually removed her and someone called Claire Stevens, which is Steve Claire, for major felonies. Of course, Aquila sued them back, hundreds of thousands of dollars. My dear friend LaFoy Johnson got beaten, broken, and stabbed there. That's how much they love the black man. Wow, I mean, I think they gave him close to $250,000 to shut up. And so that's the scam. That's your Abbot Kinney Boulevard Festival. That's your Sonny Bach Art Crawl. Those are your censors. That guy in that felon building, Venice Beach Suites, you know, Radio Free, whatever. Thank God they censored me because, you know, it's not a competition thing. I've put people that no one's heard of in national magazines that got on national TV, Michael Collier and others, when I was a national magazine journalist. And then I was also a staff newspaper reporter because I didn't want to do other than hard fact stuff. I wanted to get deeper into the discipline and learn more. And that was important to me for a while. So, you know, I don't talk about any of this because really, I just did all this stuff to get recording studio time. There's the stand-down police during the mobocracy riots, and now Chief Moore's made them all in the George Gascon image, which is really a shame. Most of the rank and file that was credible left. Jim Setzer, Captain Jim Setzer, was assigned to me after I personally approached Chief Moore. Actually, he personally approached me at a public meeting when I saw a translite of the beautiful Venice boardwalk, including my building and a former apartment. Okay? There's people who go to jail for violence, for sentences, and they keep the apartments open for them. I got evicted without attorney by a Persian legal team. I didn't want to be a pro tempore, whatever you call that. Jim Robb knew about it. Brian Averill knew about it when he was just considering a run for the Venice Neighborhood Council, and I showed up like a suit. They probably just snickered. Showed up respectfully because I have respect for process and experience. Do you know? And I keep it on the DL in the hood. What I do, you know, people know anyway if the work speaks for itself. That stalking tower right above my apartment. The vicious cruelty. A community that ignored it. Yo Venice, the Argonaut, Free Venice Beachhead, which featured Becky Dennison with Maxine Waters recently. And you might have seen the video of the anti-Semitic sign from a couple of days ago. I'm going to have to stop. You know, and all the Jew hate that's promulgated. We've been talking about it for a long time, and it's not been responded to. Okay, this is the place that the press called, and if we have to prove it, we will, because you're lazy and stupid and irresponsible across the board, including conservative media. That'll give you time to express yourself, and then never do an investigation and never follow up, and we've got actually too much material. That's why I'm homeless. This was my 5th Yom Kippur. This will be my 5th Thanksgiving and Christmas, Easter, the anniversary of Gary Stewart's passing, and he was active, very active, friend of 36 years before his unfortunate passing. Right here, trying to help Susan and Janet. And what about Emily? And what about Jenna? And what about Popcorn? What about Christopher? What about Daryl? What about Keith? What about the indigenous guy that died there, and I couldn't even get Mike Bravo to beat his drum for all his belonging? So it's sad. It's sad. If you're a human being, it's sad. And there's a young woman slowly dissolving on this boardwalk. And Venice Family Clinic's got new millions and an architectural makeover. That's fabulous. Linda looks fabulous. and expanding to the South Bay with a fleet. Another lease partner service provider with no action on the boardwalk unless Soldado Sue decides to take a picture of herself. Onika Ruderman decides to plant a tree where the prison drops were by the tens of thousands. Where do you think they brought them? What did we have to go through? You're not going down the memory hole, because I got the rock. Stan Becker. Visiting Venice Community Housing, Venice Regional Council site. Another on the spot report.